The starship Intrepid floated silently against the backdrop of unfamiliar stars. Captain Elaine Summers stood on the bridge, her hands clasped behind her back as she stared at the main view screen. This was a historic moment. Humans had finally left their solar system and traveled to another part of the galaxy. "Status report," she said, her voice steady despite the excitement she felt inside. "All systems normal, Captain," replied Lieutenant Eric Daniels from the pilot's chair. "We've successfully exited hyperspace at the coordinates we planned." Dr. Alan Walsh, the ship's diplomatic officer, moved to stand beside her. He was a tall man with kind eyes that crinkled when he smiled. Right now, though, his expression was serious. "This is it," he said quietly. "Humanity's first contact with alien life. If there's anyone out there." Elaine nodded. "There has to be. Those signals we picked up weren't natural. The Intrepid was Earth's first true interstellar vessel. For years, scientists had detected strange radio waves from this section of space. After much debate, the world governments had agreed to send a ship to investigate. They had chosen Elaine and her crew of 50 for this important mission. "Captain, I'm detecting several vessels approaching," said communications specialist Olivia Warren. Her fingers moved quickly over her console. They're huge, ma'am. Much bigger than us." Elaine felt her heart beat faster. On screen, the view screen changed to show 3 ships moving toward them. They were sleek and silver with strange blue lights pulsing along their hulls. Each one was at least 5 times the size of the Intrepid. "They're scanning us," reported Science Officer Kevin Martinez. He was young, only 30, but brilliant. "Very powerful scans. They're looking at everything. Our hull, our engines, our weapons." "Are they trying to communicate?" asked Elaine. "No, ma'am," said Olivia. "Wait, yes, we're receiving a transmission. Put it through." The screen flickered, and suddenly they were looking at an alien face. It had blue-gray skin, large eyes with no pupils and a small mouth. When it spoke, the ship's computers translated. "Unknown vessel. You have entered Andromeda Confederacy space. Identify yourselves immediately." Elaine glanced at Dr. Walsh, who nodded encouragingly. She straightened her uniform and spoke clearly. "This is Captain Elaine Summers of the Earthship Intrepid. We come in peace as explorers and wish to establish friendly contact." The alien was silent for a moment. "Earth? We have no record of this world or your species. We are new to interstellar travel," explained Elaine. "This is our first journey beyond our solar system." The alien's eyes narrowed. "Yet you possess hyperspace technology. Interesting." It turned to speak to someone off-screen, then looked back. "You will follow our escort to Andromeda Station 6 for further questioning." The transmission ended. "That didn't seem very friendly," said Chief Engineer Frank Delgado. He was a stocky man with strong hands and a worried frown. "They're cautious," said Dr. Walsh. "That's to be expected. We're strangers in their territory." Elaine nodded. "Lieutenant Daniels, follow their ships, but keep our defensive systems on standby just in case." "Yes, Captain." As they followed the alien vessels, Kevin worked at his station, analyzing the data they were collecting. "Captain, something odd is happening," he said after a while. "Our arrival, it's being broadcast. I'm picking up transmissions about us, spreading across this entire sector of space." Elaine frowned. "Why would they do that?" "I don't think it's them," said Kevin. "These broadcasts are coming from different sources. Some seem to be news channels, others military frequencies. Everyone is talking about us." Dr. Walsh looked troubled. "It suggests our arrival is significant in ways we don't understand." Hours later, they arrived at Andromeda Station 6. It was a massive structure, a wheel-shaped station that could have held 100 Intrepids inside it. They were directed to a docking bay and secured the ship. Dr. Walsh, Lieutenant Daniels, "You'll come with me," said Elaine. "Commander Bennett, you have the bridge." Hannah Bennett, Elaine's second-in-command, nodded firmly. "Be careful, Captain." They were met at the airlock by a group of aliens. Some looked like the blue-gray being they had seen on the screen, but others were different, some with scale-like skin, others with 4 arms. One stepped forward. I am Admiral Varn of the Andromeda Confederacy. You will come with me. They were led through corridors filled with aliens who stopped to stare at them. Elaine could feel the tension in the air. These weren't just curious looks. They were suspicious, even fearful. Finally, they reached a large room with a window overlooking space. Admiral Varn turned to face them. Your arrival is problematic, he said bluntly. We meant no offense, said Dr. Walsh quickly. If we violated any protocols or boundaries, we apologize. Admiral Varn made a strange gesture. It is not that simple. For nearly 1,000 years, 3 major powers have maintained peace in this galaxy: the Andromeda Confederacy, the Orion Collective, and the Cygnus Dominion. This peace is based on balance. No one side can gain too much advantage. I don't understand what that has to do with us, said Elaine. Your ship, said Admiral Varn. Our scans detected technology we have not seen before. Your quantum shields, your graviton torpedoes. These are advancements that could upset the balance. Lieutenant Daniels shifted uncomfortably. You scanned our weapon systems? Of course. Admiral Varn's expression hardened. And now the Orion Collective and Cygnus Dominion know about you too. They will be interested in your technology. Elaine felt a chill. Admiral, we came as explorers. We have no wish to get involved in political conflicts. It is too late for that, Captain Summers, said Admiral Varn. Your very presence has changed things. The question now is what role you will play and what comes next. And what is that? Asked Dr. Walsh. Admiral Varn looked out at the stars. For a millennium we have had peace, but it has always been fragile. Your arrival may be the event that finally breaks it. He turned back to them, his alien eyes impossible to read. Tell me, Captain Summers, what are humanity's true intentions in this galaxy? Elaine realized with growing dread that they had stumbled into something much bigger and more dangerous than they could have imagined. One human ship had crossed the stars, and without firing a single shot, it had already changed the galaxy forever. Captain Elaine Summers and her team returned to the Intrepid in silence. None of them spoke until they were safely back on their ship with the doors sealed. That went badly, said Lieutenant Daniels finally. Dr. Walsh nodded. We've stepped into something complicated, a political balance we know nothing about. Elaine called the senior crew to the meeting room. As they gathered around the table, she explained what Admiral Varn had told them. So these 3 powers, the Andromeda Confederacy, the Orion Collective, and the Cygnus Dominion, have kept peace for 1,000 years, said Commander Bennett. And now they think we might upset that balance? Our technology, said Elaine. They seem very interested in our quantum shields and weapons. Chief Engineer Delgado frowned. Our tech isn't that special. We've only had hyperspace travel for 5 years. Maybe their development took a different path, suggested Science Officer Martinez. Different species, different priorities. Olivia Warren, who had been quiet, suddenly sat forward. Captain, I'm picking up a strange signal. Someone's trying to contact us on a secure channel. Put it through, ordered Elaine. The screen lit up, showing another alien. This one had golden skin with faint stripes and large green eyes. Captain Summers, it said in a hushed voice. I am Kelzar of the Orion Collective. We need to speak privately. The Andromedans are not telling you everything. Elaine hesitated, then nodded. Ambassador Patterson and Security Chief Howard will meet with you. Send the location. After the call ended, Linda Patterson raised an eyebrow. You trust them? No, said Elaine. But we need information from all sides. While Patterson and Greg Howard went to meet with Kelzar, Olivia made another discovery. Captain, I've been monitoring station communications, she said. There are coded messages being sent about us. I think the Andromedans are planning to study our ship's technology without permission. Frank Delgado looked alarmed. I'll check our systems. He rushed out. Kevin Martinez was studying data on his tablet. That's not all. I've analyzed station movement patterns. There are ships arriving from the Cygnus Dominion. They're trying to be subtle, but they're definitely here. Elaine felt a headache forming. So all 3 major powers are now interested in us. We're a new piece on the board, said Commander Bennett. Everyone wants to know which side will join. A few hours later, Patterson and Howard returned, looking troubled. The Orion representative says the Andromedans are planning to copy our technology to gain military advantage, reported Patterson. They warned us not to trust Admiral Varn. And did they offer an alternative? Asked Elaine. Of course, said Howard grimly. Protection from the Andromedans in exchange for exclusive trade rights with Earth. Just then, Frank burst into the room. Captain, they're in our systems. The Andromedans have planted devices on our hull. They're scanning everything. Our engine specs, weapons designs, shield frequencies, they're taking it all. Elaine stood up immediately. Disconnect everything. Shut down main power. We need to purge any external connections. As the crew scrambled, to protect their systems, Admiral Varn requested another meeting. This time he came to the Intrepid with 6 armed guards. Captain Summers, he said smoothly, I have a proposal for your world. The Andromeda Confederacy would like to offer Earth protection and resources. In exchange, we ask for military cooperation and technology sharing. Elaine kept her face neutral. That's a significant offer, Admiral. I would need to consult with Earth's leadership. Admiral Varn's expression hardened slightly. Of course, but remember, Captain, the galaxy can be dangerous for newcomers. You need allies. The Orion Collective cannot be trusted, and the Cygnus Dominion would use you and discard you. After the Admiral left, Elaine called her senior staff together again. We need to leave, she said firmly. Now, before they decide to just take what they want. They won't let us go easily, warned Commander Bennett. I know. That's why we need a plan. They worked through the night preparing for their escape. Frank Delgado removed the Andromedan scanning devices and replaced them with decoys that would feed false information. Kevin Martinez calculated a hyperspace jump that would get them away quickly. Olivia Warren monitored communications, watching for any sign their plan had been discovered. At last, they were ready. All hands to stations, ordered Elaine. Prepare for immediate departure. They requested permission to leave for a test flight of systems. As expected, Admiral Varn denied the request. Now, said Elaine. Engineer Delgado activated a pulse that temporarily disabled the station's tractor beams. Lieutenant Daniels fired up the engines and the Intrepid pulled away from the dock. Alarms blared immediately. The Andromedans are launching pursuit ships, reported Olivia. Stay on course, said Elaine calmly. 2 sleek Andromedan vessels closed in from behind. They're charging weapons, warned Howard. Evasive maneuvers, ordered Elaine. Try to avoid conflict if possible. Lieutenant Daniels skillfully piloted the ship, dodging the first volley of energy blasts. But the Andromedan ships were fast and determined. They're targeting our engines, said Howard. They want to disable us, not destroy us. Captain, we can't outrun them, said Daniels after another near miss rocked the ship. And we can't reach hyperspace with them on our tail. Elaine closed her eyes briefly. Lieutenant Daniels, target their propulsion systems, minimal force. Daniels hesitated for just a moment, then fired. The Intrepid's graviton torpedoes streaked through space, striking one Andromedan ship precisely where its engines connected. To the main hull, the vessel spun out of control. The second Andromedan ship fired again, this time hitting the Intrepid's port side. Shields at 60%, reported Howard. One more hit like that and we're in trouble. No choice, said Elaine, grimly. Take them out. Daniels fired again. This time the torpedo hit with more force than intended. The Andromedan ship exploded in a brilliant flash of light. Silence fell over the bridge. Jump to hyperspace, said Elaine quietly. Now. As the stars stretched and the Intrepid escaped, Olivia turned to her captain with a pale face. The entire incident was broadcast across all major channels in the sector, she said. Everyone saw what our weapons can do. Kevin Martinez looked up from his console. Captain, I'm picking up massive fleet movements throughout the sector. All 3 powers are mobilizing ships. Elaine stared at the swirling lights of hyperspace, the weight of what had happened settling on her shoulders. One human ship had entered, this galaxy seeking peaceful contact. Instead, they had become the spark that might ignite a war among the stars. The Intrepid drifted through space, its engines running quiet. After their escape from the Andromedans, Captain Elaine Summers had ordered them to a remote part of the sector to regroup. The crew was tense. They had come to explore, not to fight, and certainly not to start a war. "Any sign of pursuit?" Elaine asked, entering the bridge. Lieutenant Daniels shook his head. "No, Captain. But we're picking up a lot of chatter. Every news channel in the galaxy seems to be talking about us." "What are they saying?" she asked. Olivia Warren looked up from her communications station. "They're calling us the human wildcards. Some reports say we attacked the Andromedan ships without cause. Others say we were defending ourselves from capture. Everyone has a different story." Commander Bennett stepped forward. "Captain, we need a safe place to dock. We took damage during our escape, and Frank says the port engine needs repairs." Elaine nodded. "Any suggestions?" Kevin Martinez spoke up. "There's a trading hub called Nexus Station about 6 hours from here. It's in neutral territory. Neither the Confederacy, the Collective, nor the Dominion controls it." "Set course," ordered Elaine, "but approach with caution." Nexus Station appeared on their view screen a few hours later. Unlike the military precision of Andromeda Station 6, this was a sprawling, chaotic structure. Dozens of different ship designs surrounded it, coming and going in a busy dance. "They're hailing us," said Olivia. The screen showed an alien with purple skin and 4 eyes. "Unknown vessel, identify yourself and state your business. This is Captain Elaine Summers of the Earthship Intrepid. We seek permission to dock for repairs and supplies." There was a pause. "Earthship? Ah, you must be the humans everyone is talking about. Interesting timing for your arrival, Captain." "What do you mean?" asked Elaine. "You'll see. Permission to dock granted. Follow the beacon to Bay 12. As they docked, Elaine organized repair teams and prepared a small group to explore the station and gather information. She, Dr. Walsh, and Commander Bennett would meet with station officials while Security Chief Howard would lead a team to secure supplies. Nexus Station was a riot of colors, sounds, and smells. Aliens of every description moved through wide corridors, trading goods and information. Many stopped to stare at the humans as they passed. They were escorted to an office where a tall, thin alien waited. His skin was deep green, and he had long fingers that ended in small suction cups. "Welcome to Nexus Station. I am Administrator Loran. We don't often get new species here. Thank you for allowing us to dock," said Elaine. "We need repairs after an encounter with the Andromeda Confederacy." Loran's features shifted in what might have been a smile. "Yes, your encounter is the talk of the sector. Do you realize what you've done?" Dr. Walsh frowned. "We defended ourselves from aggression. We had no choice." "Perhaps," said Loran. "But the timing couldn't be worse. The peace between the 3 powers was already starting to crack." "What do you mean?" asked Commander Bennett. Loran gestured for them to sit. "The 1,000-year peace was never perfect. It was built on fear and control. The 3 major powers maintained balance by suppressing technological advancement among smaller species." He pointed out the window at the busy station. "All these species, dozens of them caught between the giants, none allowed to grow too strong, too advanced. Your arrival, your technology, it shows the lie of their control." "We didn't know," said Elaine quietly. "Of course not," said Loran. "But now you're here, and everything is changing." Back on the Intrepid, Elaine established a diplomatic mission. Commander Bennett would lead negotiations with various minor powers and traders on the station. They needed allies, information, and resources if they were to survive in this complex galaxy. Dr. Walsh and Lieutenant Daniels spent days in the station's archives, learning about the history of the 3 major powers and the many smaller species caught in their shadow. "It's fascinating," Dr. Walsh told Elaine. "The peace they talk about wasn't really peace at all, it was control. Any species that developed too quickly was brought to heel, either through economic pressure or military threats." A week after their arrival, a massive ship docked at Nexus Station. It was black and sleek, with strange red symbols along its hull. "Cygnus Dominion," explained Loran when Elaine asked. "Their High Commander Threll has come to meet you personally." The meeting was held in a neutral conference room. High Commander Threll was imposing, with dark red skin and eyes that seemed to glow from within. "Captain Summers," he said, his voice deep and smooth. "The Cygnus Dominion extends its hand in friendship to humanity. We have watched with interest as you dealt with the Andromeda Confederacy." "We had no wish for conflict," said Elaine. "Of course not. But conflict found you anyway, as it often does in this galaxy." Threll spread his 4 hands in a gesture of openness. "We offer you protection, resources, and autonomy for your world. In exchange, we ask for exclusive trading rights with Earth." The offer seemed generous, almost too generous. While Elaine and her team considered it, Intelligence Officer Nathan Cole made a disturbing discovery. "Captain," he reported, his voice low as he entered her quarters, "I've been monitoring Dominion communications. They're mobilizing their war fleets, moving them into position near Andromedan territory." Elaine's blood ran cold. "They're preparing for war." She confronted High Commander Threll the next day. "You speak of peace while preparing for war. Why?" Threll's glowing eyes studied her. "Because war is inevitable, Captain Summers. Your arrival has simply accelerated what was already coming. The question is not whether there will be war, but which side Earth will be on when it begins." Before Elaine could respond, news arrived that the Orion Collective had announced a defensive pact with several mid-sized powers. "They cite human technology as a destabilizing force requiring containment," read Olivia from the broadcast. Over the next few days, reports flooded in from across the galaxy. Ancient treaties were being abandoned. Species were choosing sides. Military vessels were moving into strategic positions. Elaine stood in the observation deck, watching the busy traffic. Around Nexus Station, Dr. Walsh joined her. "I can't help feeling responsible," she said quietly. "We didn't cause this," he replied. "The peace was already breaking. Administrator Loran said so himself. We were just the excuse they needed. But it was our arrival that lit the fuse." "Doctor?" Walsh put a hand on her shoulder. "Perhaps, but from what we've learned, this wasn't really peace at all. It was control, oppression. Maybe what comes next, whatever it is, will be better." Elaine wasn't sure she believed that. But as she watched the ships moving through space, representing dozens of species that had lived under the thumb of the 3 major powers for centuries, she wondered if perhaps humanity's arrival had simply revealed a truth that had been hidden too long. The galaxy had never truly known peace. And now that illusion was finally shattered. Tensions grew across the galaxy in the days that followed. Captain Elaine Summers watched as more ships arrived at Nexus Station every day. Some came for supplies, others for protection. Many were refugees, fleeing from border worlds where fighting had already started. "We need to try to stop this," Elaine told her senior staff. "This war doesn't have to happen." Administrator Loran agreed to help. He had connections with neutral diplomats from dozens of species. Together with Dr. Walsh, they began working on a peace plan. Meanwhile, Medical Officer Samantha Powell made a troubling discovery. She had been treating injured refugees, learning about different alien biologies. One patient, a data merchant from the Cygnus Dominion, gave her access to secret files in exchange for saving his life. "Captain, you need to see this," Samantha said, entering the conference room where Elaine was meeting with her team. The files contained military plans from all 3 major powers, plans that were years old. "They've been preparing for war long before we arrived," said Samantha, pointing to the dates on the documents. "The Andromedans were developing new weapons. The Orions were building hidden shipyards. The Dominion was training special forces." "So our arrival wasn't the cause," said Commander Bennett. "It was just the excuse they needed." In the engineering section, Frank Delgado was working on a new system. He had been collaborating with engineers from smaller species on the station, people who had been forced to hide their best ideas from the major powers. "It's a field generator," he explained to Elaine when she visited. "It creates an energy bubble that disables weapon systems but doesn't harm life support. If fighting breaks out, we could use it to force a ceasefire." "How soon will it be ready?" she asked. Frank wiped sweat from his forehead. "A few more days, maybe. It's complicated technology." But they didn't have a few more days. That night, alarms blared across Nexus Station. "What's happening?" Elaine demanded as she rushed to the bridge. "A Cygnus battle group has attacked an Andromedan outpost near here," reported Lieutenant Daniels. "They claim it was developing bioweapons targeted at humans and their allies." "Is that true?" asked Elaine. Intelligence Officer Cole shook his head. "Unknown. But it doesn't matter now. The Andromedans are retaliating." Within hours, the Andromeda Confederacy launched strikes against Orion shipyards, accusing them of breaking weapons treaties. The Orion Collective responded by attacking Cygnus supply lines. The conflict spread like wildfire across the galaxy. Nexus Station, positioned between the territories of all three powers, suddenly found itself in danger. "We're getting reports of ships heading this way," said Olivia Warren from her communication station. "Multiple signals, heavily armed." "Administrator," Loran's voice came through on the emergency channel. "Captain Summers, we need to evacuate the station. There are thousands of civilians here and we have limited defenses." Elaine made her decision. "The Intrepid will help with the evacuation and provide cover if needed. Commander Bennett, coordinate." With station security, Lieutenant Daniels, prepare for possible combat. They worked frantically to evacuate the most vulnerable: children, the elderly, the injured. Dozens of transport ships were loaded and sent away from the conflict zone. Then, the attack came. 3 Andromedan warships and 2 Orion cruisers appeared, each claiming the station was harboring enemy agents. "They're just looking for a reason to attack," said Greg Howard grimly. "They don't care about the civilians." "Deploy our shields around the station," ordered Elaine. "Lieutenant Daniels, target your weapons on their weapons systems only. We want to disable, not destroy." The Intrepid moved into position. Its advanced shields extended to cover the evacuation area of the station. When the Andromedan ships fired, the energy weapons splashed harmlessly against the quantum barrier. "They're surprised," said Kevin Martinez, watching the sensor readings. "They didn't expect our shields to be this strong." The Intrepid fired back, precise shots that damaged the weapon systems on 2 enemy ships. But there were too many. A barrage from an Orion cruiser broke through, striking part of the station. "Captain," called Olivia urgently. "Administrator Loran reports a breach in Sector 7. There are still civilians there. And there's another problem. The last refugee transport is under fire." Elaine faced an impossible choice. The Intrepid's shields could protect the damaged station section or the transport ship, but not both. "Split the shields," she ordered after a moment of hesitation. 50% to Sector 7, 50% to the transport." "Captain, that will leave us exposed," warned Howard. "I know. Do it anyway." The Intrepid's shields divided, stretching thin to cover both targets. It worked. The civilians in Sector 7 had time to escape and the transport made it to safety. But as Howard had warned, the Intrepid was now vulnerable. A combined attack from both Andromedan and Orion ships hammered the human vessel. Explosions. "Rock the bridge." "Damage report," called Elaine through the smoke. "Hull breach on Deck 3, reported Commander Bennett. "Engineering reports the port engine is offline. We've lost weapon control." "Medical bay calling," came Samantha's voice. "Multiple injuries. We need help down here." Another blast hit them. Security Chief Howard pushed Elaine out of the way as a support beam crashed down. It struck him instead, pinning him to the floor. "Greg." Elaine rushed to his side, but it was too late. His eyes stared sightlessly at the ceiling. With a final effort, the Intrepid managed to break away from the battle. Frank Delgado worked miracles in engineering, coaxing enough power from the damaged engines to reach safety. As they limped away, the screens showed the conflict spreading across the sector. What had begun as isolated attacks had turned into full-scale war. In the medical bay, Elaine stood among her injured crew. 4 had died, including Greg Howard. Many more were wounded. "What now, Captain?" asked Dr. Walsh quietly. Elaine looked at the faces around her, tired, hurt, but still determined. They had come to this galaxy as explorers. Now they were caught in a war they had never wanted. "Now we keep trying to make a difference," she said. "One way or another." On the main view screen, the stars were obscured by the flashes of distant battles as peace, or what had passed for peace in this galaxy, was finally irrevocably lost. The Intrepid drifted silently through the darkness of space. With engines barely functioning, Captain Elaine Summers had ordered them to an abandoned mining facility on a remote asteroid. Here they could hide and repair their damaged ship far from the battles that now raged across the galaxy. In her quarters, Elaine stared at a map of the sector. Red dots marked areas of conflict, and there were too many to count now. She heard a knock at her door. "Come in," she said. Dr. Walsh entered, carrying 2 cups of coffee. He handed one to her and sat down. "The memorial service for Greg and the others was good," he said quietly. "It helped the crew." Elaine nodded. "They were good people. They didn't deserve to die in someone else's war." "Is that how you see it? Someone else's war?" She looked up at him. "Isn't it? We just arrived here. We didn't start this." "Maybe not directly," said Dr. Walsh. "But from what we've learned, this conflict was inevitable. The 3 powers had been preparing for years. Our arrival just sped things up." Elaine sighed. "That doesn't make me feel any better about our role in it." "We can't change what happened," said Dr. Walsh, "but we can decide what to do next." In another part of the asteroid facility, Commander Bennett led a special mission. They needed to contact Earth to warn them about the danger. "We can't risk sending a ship," she told her team, "but we might be able to modify our communication array to send a message through hyperspace." Kevin Martinez and Olivia Warren worked with her, trying to boost their signal strength enough to cross the vast distance. "If we succeed," said Kevin, "we need to tell Earth not to send any more ships. Not until this conflict is resolved." "If it ever is," said Olivia grimly. Meanwhile, Intelligence Officer Nathan Cole and Lieutenant Daniels had been working with refugees from Nexus Station. The Intrepid had managed to rescue several dozen civilians during their escape. Now these beings from different species were helping the humans gather intelligence about the spreading conflict. "It's worse than we thought," Nathan told Elaine during a briefing. "All 3 major powers are fully committed to war now. Planets are being blockaded. Supply lines cut. There are even rumors of planet-killer weapons being prepared. There must be something we can do," said Elaine, frustration clear in her voice. "Actually," said Lieutenant Daniels, "there might be." He brought up a star chart on the display. "We've been monitoring communications. Several smaller alliances are refusing to join the war. They're forming a coalition of neutral systems right here." He pointed to a cluster of stars on the edge of the map. "Many of these species were previously controlled by the major powers," explained Nathan. "They see this conflict as an opportunity to establish independence." Elaine studied the map thoughtfully. "How many ships do they have?" "Not many," admitted Daniels, "and most are outdated. But they have numbers and determination." For 3 weeks, the crew worked tirelessly to repair the Intrepid. Chief Engineer Delgado performed miracles with limited resources. By the time they were ready to leave their hiding place, Elaine had made her decision. She gathered the entire crew in the main cargo bay. "When we left Earth," she began, "our mission was to explore, to make peaceful contact with alien life. Instead, we found ourselves in the middle of a complex political situation that has now erupted into war." She looked at the faces before her, tired, some still bearing injuries, but all listening intently. "We have 3 options. First, we could try to return to Earth, though the journey would be dangerous with the galaxy at war. Second, we could join one of the major powers, lending our technology to their cause. Or third," she paused, then continued with new resolve in her voice, "we could help those who want no part in this conflict, the neutral coalition that Lieutenant Daniels and Officer Cole have identified. They need leadership, organization, and hope. We could provide that." Dr. Walsh stepped forward. "Captain, I think I speak for many when I say that after what we've seen, joining any of the major powers would go against everything we believe in. They've controlled and suppressed others for too long," Commander Bennett nodded, "and returning to Earth now would mean abandoning the galaxy to war. We may have played a role in starting this conflict. Perhaps we should play a role in ending it. The vote was nearly unanimous. The Intrepid would join the neutral coalition. 2. Days later, they arrived at a small, rocky planet called Haven. It had become the headquarters of the coalition. Ships from dozens of species filled the orbit around it. When the Intrepid appeared, there was initial alarm. Everyone had heard of the powerful human ship, but Administrator Loran, who had survived the attack on Nexus Station and now helped lead the coalition, welcomed them warmly. "Your arrival changes everything," he told Elaine as they walked through the coalition's makeshift command center. "Your ship, your technology, but most importantly, your perspective. You see our galaxy with fresh eyes." In the weeks that followed, the Intrepid became the flagship of a growing neutral fleet. Captain Summers helped organize their forces, not for war, but for protection and humanitarian missions. They rescued civilians from battle zones, protected neutral worlds, and established safe corridors for refugees. Frank Delgado finally completed his weapon-disabling field generator, installing it on several coalition ships. It proved invaluable in stopping fights without causing deaths. Dr. Walsh and Samantha Powell trained medical teams from different species, sharing human knowledge while learning alien healing techniques. One evening, Elaine stood on a balcony overlooking Haven's main settlement. The sky above was filled with stars and the lights of ships coming and going. Commander Bennett joined her. "You're thinking about Greg and the others," said Hannah. "Every day," admitted Elaine. "I wonder if they'd approve of what we're doing." "They would," said Hannah confidently. "We're making a difference. The coalition grows stronger each day. More species are joining us. There's talk of peace negotiations in some sectors." Elaine smiled slightly. "When we arrived in this galaxy, we thought we were just explorers. We never imagined we'd help create something like this." Below them, beings from a dozen different worlds worked together, building a new future. What had begun as a loose alliance of frightened neutral worlds was becoming something more, a genuine alternative to the old power structure. "The Galactic Concordat," said Hannah, using the name they had given their new alliance. "It has a nice ring to it." The next morning, the Intrepid led a mixed fleet of ships from various species on a mission to rescue civilians from a war zone. As Elaine gave the order to depart, she reflected on their journey. One human ship had arrived in this galaxy and changed it forever. The old peace was lost, but perhaps in time, a new and better peace would take its place.